Pleased to be joined by our friend John Nichols, national affairs correspondent with The Nation magazine, also author of a new book, Horsemen of the Trumpocalypse, a field guide to the most dangerous people in America. If you want to go on nonviolent safari to understand who is helping to run the apparatus, well, that's a good place to look. We're going to also ask about the debate. John Nichols, thank you so much for calling in. How's it going in your world?
Well, my world is downtown Detroit today, and it is excellent. It's full of energy and activism. Detroit's a great, cool town. Good place to have a debate. And I suspect that tonight we'll have some fireworks. So, on balance, a good day.
So in Detroit, a lot of the attention from, if people pay attention like 538 and some of the math nerds that pay attention to the electoral college vote will look to, and you can imagine, there's some advocates who can imagine a different map. If you change Texas, if you change North Carolina, you can imagine shifting this map. But a lot of folks, of course, on Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, maybe Ohio. You've made the case that candidates got to give people in Detroit a reason to care, a reason to be excited. Am I paraphrasing you accurately?
100% accurately. Look, I believe in a 50-state map. In fact, I wish it was, obviously it is 50 states, District of Columbia. I wish it was Puerto Rico and Virgin Islands and a lot more places. I think everybody should be able to vote for president. And I think it should be considered competitive nationwide. But if you are going to look seriously at the map, what you're going to see is that in a handful of states that gave Donald Trump the presidency, as painful as it is to say that, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, fewer people than it would take to fill a football stadium decided the election, right? Yeah. Trump, about 75,000 votes between those three states. Michigan was the closest. Imagine this. Donald Trump carried Michigan by 11,000 votes.
Yeah, that's fewer people than would fit in a basketball stadium.
Yeah, now check this out. That is 0.23%. So 1/5% was his margin in Michigan. Yet that was absolutely critical to him becoming president of the United States. So this is a big deal, what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And the fundamental reality is that in Wayne County, which is the Detroit area, and in Detroit, you just had a significantly lower turnout in 2016 than you had in 2012 or 2008. If you had simply had a portion of the turnout, not even all of it that you had in 2012, Trump wouldn't have carried Michigan. He also wouldn't have carried Wisconsin or Pennsylvania. So this debate is really critical, not because of the people of Detroit per se, or the people of Milwaukee per se, or the people of Philadelphia or Pittsburgh, but in this deeper sense. Can Democrats figure out how to talk to older cities, urban centers, which have experienced a lot of deindustrialization,
right,
which have experienced a lot of neglect from Washington, which have often majority-minority population, and that's not just one slogan. That's a deeper discussion, and we'll see if they get there tonight.
So, and let's take at least a minute or two to identify a few ways, right? And there is so much because most of us are blessed with two arms and two eyes and two legs. We see the world in a binary thing and say, oh, well, are they going to attack to the left or attack to the right? Are they going to go after the base or go after swing voters? I tend to think the world is not always explained by binaries. In fact, I think it usually is misexplained by binaries. But there is that dynamic at least, and there'll be that discussion of the dynamic, which almost makes it real. What do you see as a couple things that maybe would adopt the Jesse Jackson, you need both your right and your left wing to fly principle?
Exactly.
And what would be the kind of things that you think would not be violations of principle, but that would appeal not only to Detroit, but also, let's say, Macomb County? I remember the Politico article that was talking about up the 8 Mile, as for those of us who, listen to hip hop lyrics and know that Eminem, is from Macomb County, which has been a bellwether, predictive county of so many presidential elections. What are those issues that you think you're going to really be watching for?
Sure, of course. Well, first off, let's be clear. If you simply mobilize the base in a better way, if you just do better than you did in 2016 in Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, you probably win the presidency. So it's okay to talk about the base. That's not an unreasonable thing to do. But in the moment that we are in, we really, I think, have to talk about how do you win big? How do you not just defeat Trump, but Trumpism? How do we make sure that this thing stops in 2020, that it doesn't, linger on? And so then you're looking for something that really does appeal in a broad way and in a smart way. And in a state like Michigan, industrial policy focusing on really good jobs with good benefits and, a future. And that won't necessarily be reopening auto plants, although that may happen in some cases. But it's really about a 21st century economy. This is a place where Democrats have to make the Green New Deal make sense. And that's a two-part thing. We know the value of the Green New Deal, right? It addresses climate change and economic dislocation. But we have to make sure that it is something that people can wrap their heads around and really see as an option for them. So deeper, smarter discussion of the Green New Deal, or whatever you want to call it, that's a big thing. I went this morning up to Warren, Michigan. That's a town outside, a city outside of Detroit. It kind of blends into Detroit. There's a lot of communities around this city. And so you could be driving 1 minute, be in one town, one in the next. But Warren's an older industrial area, and in 2 days, one of their major auto plants is going to close. Yeah. They're going to lose thousands of jobs. And so this is real stuff. And if you can talk about that and not do what Trump did, because Trump lied. He came and said, we're just going to keep all the plants open and bring all the jobs back. Don't move. Don't sell your house. Everything's going to be great.
And then say immigration and say trade policy. Yeah, right. The old Clinton move was saying like job retraining. In a John Nichols world? Yeah. What's the key element of industrial policy? We've got about a minute.
Sure, it's easy. You start with the communities where people live, and you say that community should survive, and people should be able to live there and have a decent life. And so that industrial policy has to be national, and it has to be focused on where industries are dialing down, where you can dial things up. That's how they do it in Germany. That's how they do it in Scandinavia. It's doable. Industrial policy is not hard. But in that case, you have to be looking forward and planning. And that hasn't happened in America. And it's been very, very damaging. And so that's a huge part of this. Although I do want to emphasize also in this debate, talking to these cities and these places, talking about racial justice. I know that pivots off the industrial policy, although it's not unrelated. Talking about racial justice is also going to matter, especially after what this president has done.
In the last 10 seconds, they're about to turn the music on us. Oh, they just did. Would you go to task on Donald Trump on trade, or would you recognize that some degree of tariff is good for industrial America?
Industrial policy is going to have some tariff, some investment. It's going to be a mix because you do it based on what works, not on just kind of a whim of a billionaire who assumes the presidency.